Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. My name is James Williams Jr. The following videos are going to be references to the size of a person, the martial arts style they use, and pressure points, and a lot of other martial art involvement things that will probably piss off a lot of people who do martial arts, or who don't do martial arts, or who haven't taken a martial art, or who fight in control environments versus street fighting environments. Alright? So I'm going to break down a lot of things in these videos. I don't know how many videos I'm going to make. It could be an anthology, it could be a trilogy, but this is the intro video to that. So before I get started in any of those videos, I want to break down a little bit of my martial art history. Alright? So if you've been following me for however long I've been on this YouTube channel, because I have 77 followers, in which I love you all very much, and I thank you very much for what you do. I hope that I give you some kind of insight and some kind of learning material when I post videos. So, here we go. Alright, so I've been street fighting since I was 6 years old till I was 12 years old. I started learning martial arts at the age of 7. Alright, my dad put it into my street fighting because it wasn't something that I actually had a choice in. It was something that it was do or get your ass beat by certain family members, all who were named unnamed because it's not relevant anymore, and what's done is done. Now, during the course of my 6-year journey from 6 to 12 in fighting, I have never lost. I became really good once I got into martial arts, and it became a bloodlust, and it became something that I kind of started enjoying. So when you have this problem in fighting and you love fighting, it is a different world for you when you are told you can no longer do that. Of course, when it's your father, you have a big conquest to do. So I never stopped practicing martial arts, I just stopped fighting. Now, back in the 70s and the middle 80s when all this was going on, because I was 12 and 80 something or another, and so that's when my dad snatched me up. So my last year in middle school, I was 15. I had one fight for every day for 1 week except for Wednesday. And in those fights, everyone that I've ever fought was bigger than me. So I'm going to give you the rundown on these fights. I'm not giving any names because I have befriended all those gentlemen, and I thank them for teaching me that I'm actually better than I gave myself credit for. Because in the other fights, when you were a kid, you don't really know if it's skill or if it's luck. I've always thought it was luck because they were always a little bit bigger than me. But as I got into the higher levels of fighting people in the streets, I kind of found out that it really was more skill than luck. But you need a little bit of both in a fight. Alright. So by the time I got 15, I got into a fight on a Monday with a friend of mine. We were best friends, and he could never beat me. I knew he couldn't beat me, but this fight was more or less my fault with words instead of actions. And we had watched a show the night before about how your fingernails and your teeth are dead skin, and they had scientifically proven it, blah blah blah. So he started calling me a mutant and all kinds of other shit, and he booted me in the ass. When he booted me in the ass, my face hit the ground because I was putting dirt into his backpack with his toy weapons. And my face hit the ground, and something triggered, and when I pushed up from the push-up position, I went straight into a spinning back kick. Fight was pretty much over. Now, then I got in trouble by my mom. We made up. Not too long after that, we made up, and I want to thank him for that. So thank you. The next day, there was almost a fight. It was more of an argument, but it would have been a confrontation, and I just knew that I was going to get my ass kicked. However, I had another friend on the bus who hyped up the fight so bad that the two guys, when we got off the bus and I dropped my backpack, they ran from me because they thought that I was that good and that I was going to kick their ass. Check for luck on that one. First one, check for skill. Second one, check for luck. So Wednesday came. There was no fight. That one was the one damn day, hump day, was the blessed day. I didn't get into any fights with anybody. So the two guys that I had an issue with on Tuesday, one of their brothers and I and my friend, we were playing wrestling. And at the time, Sting was just getting his career hyped up. You know, everybody wanted to be Sting. So when we played wrestling, we called out who we were going to be, and I didn't get to be Sting. I got to be Rugged Ronnie Garvin. But Rugged Ronnie Garvin is not a martial artist. So we're playing, and it's a 2-on-4 wrestling match on a pissy mattress in the back of the old folks section of West Haven. And so the 4 guys jumped me, and I couldn't get to my partner to make the tag. Now, trying not to break character, my partner, my friend, said, "James, you can take them. You know Kung Fu." Technically, at the time, I was only doing karate. But, karate and Kung Fu are hand and foot. So, there's only a really small difference between the two. If you really have studied it, there really is just a small difference. It also depends on what style of Kung Fu versus what style of karate that you were taking. So, long story short, I shook the 2 off my arms. I shook one guy off my leg. But the guy who was going to mess me up on Tuesday, I had to catch myself. I was going to cuss. His brother wouldn't get off my leg. So I gave him a stepping side kick, so to speak. I put my leg in and thrust it back out and caught him in the gut. Him, not being a good sport, decided to go pick up a big-ass stick. And I decided, not being a good sport, that I was going to pick up an iron pipe. And so I said, okay, here's how this works. You hit me first with that, and I'm going to break this thing around your damn neck. So, fight ended right there. Double check. Skill and luck. Alright? So, the last fight happened on a Friday. With this guy who was way bigger than me. Because at the time, I was only 5'1". So, at the time, this guy, he was at least 6'2", even. And he was younger than me. He was 13 years old. I was 15 years old. But this dude was fucking Colossus. And I want to thank him for letting me learn that my skills were really skills and not luck. So let's check luck right there first. And then we'll check skills. Because at the time, I was pretty sure that it was luck. Now, as the battle progressed, it really was me that initiated the first blow. Technically. So, my sister, one of my siblings, had hit me with some rocks and ran to the park, and I couldn't catch her. It was like Hermes, the god of whatever the hell speedy deliveries, was in her body, and she was gone. She was like the Flash, man, and I just could not catch her. But she was not in great shape. When she got to the fence at the big children's park, she couldn't climb the fence. I grabbed her by the top of her pants. That would be right here, belt loop. And I was pulling her down when I got hit by a bunch of rocks and rubbery shit. This is what started the fight. Now, me and the cat had words before, and we had some issues before, but we didn't go to blows until that day. So he hit me with all those rocks and gravelly things, and I looked at my sibling and I said, "You just wait 1 minute there. I'm going to go handle this." Now, the guy was sitting down. I already knew he was bigger than me. I just didn't know how big he was scale-wise. When he was sitting down, he was still bigger than me. So you can tell I'm a little guy. I'm 5'1" at the time. 5'3" now, so I didn't grow much. 5'3 and a half. The military doesn't count the half. So, anyway, I'm 5'3". So, I go over to him. I don't know what the hell was going on up in here, but the rage in my brain cut off my logic. So I went over to him, and I'm not left-handed dominant. I'm even-handed, equal size and strength on both sides, and I don't know why I was thinking left hand, BAM! And I hit him with a funky-looking punch that just barely fucking rocked him. It pissed him off. If anything, it pissed him off. It did not hurt him. It did not stun him. If anything, it woke him up. And you don't wake up sleeping giants. Alright? So what happens next looks like some shit straight out of a comic book. And he was on a teeter-totter thing. You know that four-wheel thing with the saddles? I don't know what the fuck you call them these days. We used to call them teeter-totters, not seesaws. So anyway, he shoved me with both hands, and I slid back into a fighting position. And about this time, my life flashed before my eyes. Because he stood up. And when he stood up, it wasn't like he stood up slowly. He rocketed up, and it looked like he wasn't going to stop. And he was standing straight, and I'm like, fuck. And it was like my body was there, and my soul jumped out my body and said, "Motherfucker, you gonna die." It was just like that. It's like my soul just pretty much left my body and told me I was gonna die. And I believed at that moment that I was gonna die. I honestly, truly, guy. A few months back, maybe a year or so ago, I did a video about this fight with my golf cleats that I thought were McGregor, but they're not McGregor. They're something else. And those golf cleats I still have to this day because they saved my life that day. Because without them golf cleats, I'm pretty sure I would not have won that fight. So he came at me. I was in my fighting stance. And when he came at me with a big charge from the Mike Tyson ball bull charge like this. And my right foot, there's no room. My right foot went up and caught him. And it did not hurt him. It did not faze him. It did not stun him. It rocked him a little bit. But it didn't do the damage that I was hoping it was going to do. This is that part where you all believe the size does not matter. This is that part where I had to prove the size does not matter. Now, about this time, loads of people are coming all over the projects. They're over there, they're over there. I can see them, but I can only make out shadows because I'm suffering from what they call tunnel vision. The only thing that I was focused on was staying alive with this big behemoth of a man that's about to whoop my ass. Well, technically, he was not really a man. He was a boy because he was 13 and I was 15. And he came at me. And I remembered that he had asthma, which is what saved my life. I thought to myself, if I can induce an asthma attack on this fella, I can stop him. I remembered that he had a couple of asthma attacks because if you live in the projects, whenever the ambulance comes and there's not been a shooting, then somebody has gotten hurt some other way, and everybody in the projects was nosy, myself included, which is why I stopped being nosy when we moved out of the projects. So when he came at me, my version versus the version I was told. What I remember versus what people saw. Okay, what I remember, boom, boom, boom. All up in here trying to induce an asthma attack. You know, because I figured if I can induce an asthma attack, big boy's going down. Now, what people who saw the fight from the outside said that I hit him about 13 times with some serious rapid punches. I don't remember that shit. I'm not going to lie to you and say that's what I did. I told you what I remembered first. I remember hitting him 3 times. I don't remember this bitch ever firing at all. I just remember boom, boom, boom. And I remember him fading back a little bit, and I'm getting a little happy now because I'm like, all right, I got this big bastard. I got him. He's off me. I got him. And there's a crowd still gathering. I can't see them. I see shapes, but all I can focus on is him. And then he had some help. I will leave that part basically off, but the helper grabbed me and started pulling me this way. And then he dove at my foot, and he grabbed my right leg, because that's the leg that I kicked him with, and he started pulling me this way. And I knew that if he got me on that ground, it was game over for me, because I got no ground game. So, whoever was over here, I tried to hit that person, and my fist felt like it was burning. Alright? So, this is why I'm on the fence on a lot of mystical shit. Alright? But my fist felt like it was on fire. And I will break that down later. So I could not hit. My hand would not leave. I mean, it was drawn, but it wouldn't leave. And this one's grabbing me. This one's pulling me. This one's pulling me now. This one's pulling me, trying to get me down. And my left leg became a jackhammer. That son bitch just said, bah, 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 bah. And remind you, I'm wearing golf cleats. So I'm just wiping back and forth, wiping back and forth, wiping back and forth, wiping back and forth. And eventually, he stops. I didn't knock him out, but he stops. I guess he just couldn't take anymore. The person over here is still holding me, and then the cops came. A cop that did not like me, by the way, who's now dead, God rest his soul. Made the person, who was an adult, let go of me, picked the opponent up, dusted them off, and sent them home. And then jumped down my case as if I actually started the fight, which I didn't. But from that day forward, until like the 9th grade, which is like 3 months later, nobody in the projects ever continued to call me Karate Kid. No one in the projects ever continued to call me Kung Fu Joe. You're fake. No one ever said that shit no more. So size does matter, but skills matter more than your size in a fight. Now, I'm going to talk about that fist burning thing. So this is going to contradict a lot of people in martial arts. So I don't believe in shooting chi. Alright? I don't believe in that shit. And for those who believe in video games, this is where you call me a hypocrite, because I do believe in burning knuckles. Because my hand was on fire that day, and I've only had that happen 3 times in my entire lifetime. That was the first. Alright? It had never happened before. It only happened 2 more times after that, and that was because I was like in total rage. But what I think it was, I don't want to really dive into mysticality and say it was chi power and shit. I used to say that, but that's because I don't believe in chi that you can shoot. I do believe that you can focus your chi enough to make you stronger, maybe quicker, but not to the point where you can be Ken and Ryu or Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury. No, but my hand was on fire. It wasn't literally on fire on the outside, but on the inside I could feel my blood boiling or something, but it just felt like it was on fire. Now, so that you don't think I'm a hypocrite, my left hand is itching. Whenever my left hand has itched, scientific fact or not, this is what happens to me when my left hand itch. It means I'm coming into money. And within 3 to 4 weeks of my hand itching, the longer it itches, the longer it takes, but I often find money somewhere, or someone gives me money from somewhere. The very first time that happened, I was 20-something years old, I was working at Murray Steaks, and someone lost $20. Me being Dudley Do-Right, I took it into the store, and I gave it to the manager and said, hey, I found this $20 outside. And the manager said, where did you find it? I found it outside. She said, put that shit in your fucking pocket, boy. That's your money now. I said, but the policy says, damn the policy, I'm the manager, put that shit in your pocket, you've earned it. So, I kept the $20. But every time my hands itched, I've always found money. Every time. My hands itching now, I have money over there, but I should be getting paid soon. So that's probably why my hand is itching. But the fact of the matter is that this guy was gigantic. And this guy was big. And my hand was burning. And I had a feeling that if I had released this punch and hit the person helping him, I probably would have went to jail. So, I'm not going to say that chi doesn't exist. I am going to say that I can't do the Hadouken. But, you know, there are some people who swear that they can. I can't. But I do know that my hand was on fucking fire that day. Then 2 more times it happened. I don't know who the hell the people were, but they were talking shit, and it made me enraged. But I can actually summon that back around. Because your body has ways of letting you know shit. And traumatic events do trigger things. So here's how I'm going to sum that up. Because I got bit by a horse when I was 7. And every time I look at a horse, see a horse, or talk about a horse, my thumb and my middle finger, they burn and tingle. And it doesn't matter what kind of horse it is, doesn't matter where the horse is. If I'm talking about a horse, if I'm thinking about a horse, if I see a fucking horse, my thumb and my middle finger feel like they're on fire. So I can chalk that up to that, but that doesn't count because that only happened after the horse fight. But when I've gotten into a couple of fights, my hand, and only this hand, never this hand for some reason, this hand feels like it's on fire. I've never been able to get anybody scientifically to tell me what the fuck that is. So we can chalk that off to chi and let it go. So the next videos that I'm going to be talking about will be precisely that. Size, fighting skills, what martial arts you should take for your size, and things like that. Now this is where people are going to get pissed off, alright? Because I don't know everything, but I do know enough about body mechanics. I'm going to touch on pressure points. I'm going to touch on some shit that's just going to straight seem like bullshit. But here's my thing on that. Fighting is circumstantial, and the shit that happens between the first fight and your next fight won't be the same as the fight. It's the same thing like, I'm going to make a second part to this before I go into the anthology. It's the same thing as if you're having a sparring partner and you just can't beat that guy, no matter what. You're bound to beat him once, maybe only once. But I have a story for that too, so that'll be for the next video because it's a defeated story for me. Thanks for watching. This is 20 minutes of your life that you can't get back. Stay tuned for part 2.